Welcome to Wisdom Journey, the podcast where we explore the path of building an online business from the ground up. Here, I share my wins, struggles, lessons, and experiments so you can learn, adapt, and grow alongside me. I also interview experts in their respective field. Whether you're just starting out or looking for new strategies to scale, this is your space to find inspiration and practical wisdom. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to take you on today's journey. Welcome to Wisdom Journey. Today's guest is Ken Meritt, an enterprise strategist, executive advisor, and founder of Meritt Advisory Group. For nearly 3 decades, Ken has been the quiet force behind the success of C-suite leaders, Fortune 500 organizations, and growth-minded entrepreneurs, guiding them through transformation, financial strategy, and authentic leadership development. What makes Ken unique isn't just his depth of financial expertise, but his ability to turn complexity into clarity, helping leaders align their teams, culture, and strategic focus toward lasting impact. He believes that leadership gravitas isn't about power, it's about presence, connection, and the courage to bet on the future. Welcome to the podcast, Ken.
Thank you so much. I am absolutely glad and excited to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Ken, you've worked with leaders across Fortune 500 boardrooms and grassroots mentorship programs. What pivotal moment made you realize that strategy is as much about people as it is about numbers?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it probably takes me back to when I started my career, and focused. I got a BS in accounting, and my first job was a numbers-centric job. And what I learned pretty early on is no matter whether the numbers were what you respect, or if they were disappointing, or if they were, up or down, that outcomes, that success, that even the failures all came back to people, which then says, how you advance your strategy, the things you want to accomplish, how you think about the go forward in your business, in your world, quite frankly, is all about people. Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah. So I learned that pretty early in my career.
Yeah. Can you recall a time early in your career when a leader's decision truly reshaped how you saw business transformation?
Yeah. And it's funny because as I think about it now, I actually don't see, I see business transformation can happen, and you can't do it without advancing leadership. But advancing leadership is business transformation. So I tell a lot of my clients that every time you change leaders, it is a transformative event, right? And so whether your focus is process and workflow improvement, whether it's data and information advancement, whether it's technology enablement, especially in this time of AI, you really can't transform your business without the type of leadership, the type of vision and execution, at the core, the type of humans that you need to make that transformation come to life and achieve the outcomes that we all seek.
You talk about turning complexity into clarity. What does that look like in practice for leaders overwhelmed by data, deadlines, and decision fatigue?
Yeah, it's a great question in today's world, because so much of what we do is complicated, right? If you're talking about growing a business, or if you're talking about entering a new market, or quite frankly, if you're talking about getting your entire leadership on the same team, right? It's so important to to get everyone kind of organized, brought together, and thinking about how to proceed in a way that accomplish what you seek to do. And you can't really do that without the proper coordination and direction that we all kind of seek when we're transforming and trying to accomplish goals.
Wow. And I'm curious, how do you help organizations find focus to pick a few big bets that actually matter and avoid chasing everything at once?
Yeah, it's a great question, and back to the point of bringing everyone together. I think visioning and setting a long-term targeted outcome, every business has to do, right? We talk about strategic planning, and that and in some ways strategic planning has become a long an overused term. But to me, it means a couple of things. It means, your 3 to 5 plus year strategy. It means your next annual plan strategy. It means your next 3 month strategy. And putting together, the key steps to doing all that. And in the complex world, kind of going back to that, that point before, if you don't summarize your world into a small set of kind of big rocks in your strategic goals and objectives, then how do you know you aren't chasing the wrong thing, right? And so, what I love to do is, is get folks in a room, ask the big strategic questions, and the first test is if you put 3 questions out, including where do we see ourselves in 3 years, or what are targeted outcomes, or who is our specific customer. And if you have 10 people in the room and you don't come up with some consistency in your answers, then to your great question here, I'm not so sure you have focus, and it's time to kind of rally those troops together and see if you can't get all on the same page.
What are some of the warning signs that a company's strategy looks good on paper but lacks alignment in execution?
You'd be surprised, Wisdom, at how often I see this. And it's simply because sometimes there isn't the discipline of putting together a recent, relevant strategy, right? That the refresh of the focus, hasn't happened in the cadence that it should. And as such, which you have, and I've had a number of clients that when we talk about, when we first ask the question of what is the company strategy, one, sometimes it's hard to articulate in the words, and when it is written, the words that come out of some leaders' mouths don't match what's on that paper. So that's an indication right there that we need to kind of refresh and turn the efforts right in alignment with those words.
Oh, well, while I was reading your intro, one of the terms I mentioned is leadership gravitas. You've coined the phrase enhancing leadership gravitas. What does gravitas mean to you into this fast-paced business landscape? Hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind-the-scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. Leadership gravitas is having the capabilities that you need to meet the demands of your expectations in these times. And sometimes the capabilities are enterprise-based, right? Or company-based, that, you need to be better at sales, or you need to be operationally more efficient, or that you need to improve your pricing. So that those capabilities. But other times it's, am I demonstrating through my everyday leadership, everyday habits, in the way I show up, the characteristics that my enterprise, certainly my customers, the team around him, all my stakeholders expect of me. And when your when your capabilities match their expectations, then that's that's leadership gravitas.
Well, when your capabilities match your expectations, that's
Yes.
leadership gravitas. Such a simple definition. Um, how can leaders develop the presence and trust even when they are not the loudest voice in the room?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't make a connection between volume and presence, right? I've seen so many great leaders who it can be a person of few words, but when they talk, they're right on point and everyone is listening. And so, you know, sometimes I say it with my clients. Being a leader in a big room isn't like when we were in the grammar school and you had to raise your hand to get a class participation grade, right? It's more about saying the things that need to be said in your authentic voice, that you exceed the expectations, that you demonstrate the knowledge, that you demonstrate the overall presence for what the room needs at the moment, right? Now, if the room is in a swirl and not making progress, and I think as a leader, and part of gravitas is seeing that and helping the group advance. But I don't, the loud voice isn't the presence that is needed all the time.
Yeah, with running a big business, there's the financial stewardship, and then there's also the human side of leadership, empathy, mentorship, culture building. How do you balance the both sides?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think they both matter at all times, right? And I think the most valuable thing I've learned in growing up in accounting and finance and spending so much time in the C-suite, and especially around CEOs and CFOs, the finances always matter. The numbers always matter. Cash always matter. Economics are critical to any business. So you have to respect, dedicate the time and energy, and answer the key questions for your finance. That is table stakes for any successful company. However, when that is the only thing, and too often it's to put a ratio on it, 90% of a way a enterprise or a team is focused, I think that creates tremendous flaws in leadership, because humans and what humans are capable for, talking about the capabilities again, create the path for you to successfully accomplish the economic outcomes that you seek, right? Sure, there are times when you have a killer application or a great product or, software that everyone believes in, but those gains will be short-lived without the right humans, the right people, the right leaders in position to advance a direction based off of a vision, a plan, and the opportunity that you all have.
Yeah. Well, you've mentored both executives, emerging leaders. What's one universal principle that applies to both groups when it comes to legacy building?
Yeah, I think a universal principle that I try to talk to all my leaders about is to always keep pushing in good times and bad. And I don't mean, sometimes push is a kind of negative or derogatory kind of sentiment, and that's not at all what I mean. What I suggest to leaders, no matter in their situation, in good, bads, and in good times and in bad times, that the moment you are kind of stagnant, right, or the moment that you aren't looking to what's around the corner, right, that your good times can turn bad. And certainly when you're in bad times, things could always be better. So, having leadership and having leadership gravitas just demands of us to kind of keep pushing forward. And whether you're in a big boardroom, whether you're working by yourself or with your team, it's always best to kind of keep that type of perseverance, that type of look forward and charge as front of mind, so that you can meet the moment and have those around you see that you are a positive influence, no matter the ups or the downs.
Well, it's the moment and have a positive attitude towards it. How can young professionals cultivate strategic thinking early, even if they're not yet in leadership roles? I mean, you just talked about meet the moment and have a positive attitude, but in order to meet the moment, you have to cultivate strategic thinking early, beyond just, I have this leadership title, leadership position.
Such a great question. And over my career, I have made it a priority to develop kind of early leaders sooner rather than later, right? Because I think at the core, becoming a strategist is practice, right? It's a mindset, obviously, and you've got to have certain intellectual horsepower. You got to have certain training, of course, but really it's practice, right? The more you can find yourselves in situations where you're having to think about big, complex business issues, the more you should take that, right? I'll always remember my MBA, my MBA from the Kellogg School of Management was all about case studies, which is practice and practice and practice. And I like to believe that my strategy and strategic prowess is because I have run through so many complex strategic situations over my 35-year business career, and it's got to be in the hundreds at this point. And and so I would encourage every early professional, whether you're reading about them in in the news, or if you're in a meeting with senior folks, that you should lean in with all your energy to listen, to learn, to kind of go and explore more and take advantage of those scenarios, because it's that practice that will build your strategic prowess.
Well, what are some of the lessons about success or leadership that only time and experience could have taught you?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, right? There's probably a couple, but the biggest one that is that failing isn't fatal, right? That if you're a leader and you develop a strategy, you proceed down the road and it's just not working, you fail at it, it doesn't mean it's fatal. What makes it fatal is that you don't adapt to it, right? That you don't learn from it, that you don't kind of reset and realign to what you learn and what the market is telling you, what your stakeholders are telling you. And I think you only come to know that through the practices that I talked about, right? You're not gonna always be on the right side of situations. There's a quote that I love from that reads like this: "I failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." And that was said by Michael Jordan, who everyone knows as the greatest basketball player who's ever lived, right? And I think he would he'd probably tell you that it's that experience and those failings that made him the greatest.
That is so inspiring. You said that's the biggest lesson. What's the second biggest?
Yeah, I think the second one relates to something we've talked about so far, and it is people and humans will always matter, right?
Of course.
Early in my career, when I was when I was an analyst, I used to believe it was all about the numbers, right? And I still meet I still meet people who think that way. I think believe it or not, Wisdom, I talk to clients every day who think that some technology tool, that AI or something, is going to come along and save them. And I think I think that they will learn, as I have, and I think most leaders have, that your success is going to be predicated on having the right people at the right place doing the right things, that gets you to the through those feelings and to the success you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I did prepare a lightning round. You ready?
Okay, sure.
What's one word that defines leadership for you?
Gravitas.
I see what you did there. Okay. What's a book or quote that shaped your philosophy?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about the quote from Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not sure there's another one that readily jumps in my
Can you
mind,
just
but
repeat it?
I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
Wow.
Michael Jordan.
Okay. What is one thing leaders overcomplicate that should be simple?
Performance management. Leaders believe that performance management needs to be 2 times a year through an administrative process that they then gather feedback and give it to their teams. It should be way more complicated. Performance management and giving feedback and encouraging others and growing others should be real time and authentic and impactful, and not periodic, administratively hard, and later in any way.
Yeah. Well, coffee or tea during strategy sessions?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
I
missed
said
that. One more time.
coffee or tea. Coffee or tea during strategy sessions. What do you like to take during strategy sessions?
It's a funny question. It's tea. I don't drink coffee.
Okay.
I drink tea every day and during my strategy sessions. Yes. Sorry.
It would have been weird if you needed to shine your eyes. You know what it means to shine your eyes, right?
No. What does that mean?
It means to take alcohol during strategy sessions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The last question is what is one leadership myth you love to debunk?
That leaders are born and not made. And the reason I say that is both are true. There are humans that, from the day they could walk and talk, and the moment they engage with other humans, you saw their leadership. You saw their presence amongst the cohort, whether they were, 3-year-olds or 5-year-olds, or kids in high school. You just see that. But then you also, so there are innate leadership things. But then 2, there are people who have certain characteristics, their ability to learn, their ability to adapt, their ability to communicate, who have 80% of what it requires, and with the right investment and development and coaching, that you can turn that 80% into 100% and make them outstanding leaders. Leaders are both born and quite welcome. Yeah, and so listeners, first, Wisdom, thank you so much for this. But the best way to reach me and Meritt Advisory is www.meritt-advisory.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn at Meritt Advisory. You can find me, Kenneth Meritt, on LinkedIn. And please, any questions, any follow-up, you think we can help, we're glad to do so. And, if we can even offer some free consultation or advice, we're happy to do so. Wisdom, very much a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.